Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today what I want to talk about is the fact, and I can say it's a fact, that you do not need fertilizer. Alright, you don't need fertilizer to grow your garden. Now this whole project started back in 2017. So it's been 5 years now that we started growing this garden. And when I first started here, I had this huge yard that, was really nice, but it was just a ton of open grass. And so I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll throw in a few fruit trees, so I'd have some fruit trees, so I'd have my own fruit. And then I got this idea about this garden. I looked up some things on Pinterest, and I laid it out and drew it on a piece of graph paper, how I wanted to lay it out. And then I went about building it. And then in 2018 I finished this side and actually really started planting the garden. And that's when, in 2018, is when I started making videos. Now originally when I started this, I started buying black cow as a type of fertilizer. It's really composted cow manure, but it was a type of fertilizer, I guess. And I had a compost bin back where I have my compost bin now. And it was made out of logs, and the logs rotted down and became part of the compost. And so I then went about building my concrete block compost bin. And since then, I have used absolutely no fertilizer whatsoever in this yard. I haven't even bought black cow. I think I bought some maybe 2-3 years ago, I can't remember. But I haven't done that since. I mean, originally there was the biggest reason I didn't do it was because I didn't want to spend the money. I mean, we're on a limited budget, all right? I don't make a lot of money. I'm retired, and I've chosen to retire early, but I do have a military retirement, and that's what we primarily live off of. And so I don't have a lot of extra money to be throwing into the garden. We save up some money for projects here and there, like putting up these fences to keep the ducks out. Cost me, I don't know, a couple $100, $300, I think, something like that. Mostly for the fencing. But, so we don't have a lot of money to spend on the garden. And so originally I started composting as a way to create fertilizer and keep from having to spend a lot of money. I didn't want to have to, throw a couple $100 of fertilizer in my garden every year. But now as it's gone on, and I've done more and more research and read more and more, and it seems to me, and I firmly believe that fertilizer actually causes more harm than good, particularly in the long term. I mean, I could fertilize this and I would probably have bigger, healthier plants. But I want to show you, let me show you how it looks around here. And you tell me if you think fertilizer is something that you really need. Now keep in mind, I have not used any fertilizer at all, and even black cow doesn't really count because it's actually a composted product, so it's actually a type of compost. And in fact, I haven't bought compost since, it was probably around 2018. I actually bought a little bit of compost to put on, I think it was this bed over here. But since then, I haven't even bought any compost. I just use what I can make here. So I'm going to show you kind of what it all looks like, and then you tell me if you think this is feasible, whether or not you believe that you can actually grow a garden without using fertilizer. So, if you look over here, you can see I've got my garlic and my tomatoes, and the chives are really looking nice. That's some Swiss chard right there. Some peas that are growing up. Over here a little more garlic, some beans. I just planted some radishes along that road between the garlic and then the zinnias right here. And then over here I've got my lettuce bed. Basically it's all bolted up, and I'm going to let a little bit of it grow to make some seed. But I've got some other things in there. For some reason, the chard right there along that row, you can kind of see the little dead plants that died back. And then back over here, I've got some peppers. which are taking their sweet time growing up. But I got some back there, and in fact you can see right there a couple of nice peppers in there. Some carrots. I got to take out that mustard, but the mustard is actually good. One, it flowers and then drops seed. But it actually is supposed to help with nematodes, which is an issue here in Jacksonville. So I got to take that mustard out. More carrots there. Some broccoli back behind, and then that is radishes that I'm letting go to seed, because I'm going to try this year, since radishes get a little harder to grow in the summer. I'm going to try and grow the seed pods. And then my strawberry garden, which I did actually this year, I took it all apart and basically separated the crowns out and put strawberries individually in holes in plastic, but the plastic didn't seem to do well, so I've taken that up and I got to recompost it and try and get it going again. But we're getting pretty regular strawberries out of it. And back here's my square foot bed. Got some all kind of different stuff. I mean, beans and peppers, tomatoes, kale, cabbage, which is getting eaten up. That's all right. Some flowers in there, some garlic chives. Ooh, that tomato's about ready. I have to get that. And then over here, more tomatoes, beans, basil, cucumbers, which the cucumbers are loving it this year. They're really doing great. My little experiment down here where I'm trying to root out a new tomato plant, which is starting to perk up a little bit. Probably should have cut more of them leaves off, but it's coming. Some radishes in front. Over here my cucumber, which is going nuts, man, with some cucumbers behind it. My squash, which are looking really nice. Some tomatoes in front of the squash. And then back over here I've got my watermelons and my cantaloupe. And here I've got some more peas. And with some cucumbers on the other side. I got one plant that's doing really well, but the others are taking their sweet time. So I'm probably going to hit them with some compost tea today. And more cucumbers over there that are doing really well. And then around the outside you can see I got peas right along the edge there. And then back over here behind the tomatoes I've got some peas growing up. Let me go over here. And down here these are my zucchini. Zucchini all through there. And then some more garlic. Some voluntary beans back here in the back. Then out here I got my potatoes with some kohlrabi and some beets on the other side. Which I think it might be too late for beets, but we'll see. I mean, it didn't cost me nothing but seed. Then my corn over here, which is again looking kind of miserable. I think corn just takes a lot more fertility in the soil. It probably would be one area where a little bit of fertilizer would do, but I'm just not going to do it. Then over here in these beds, I've got my turnips and tatsoi, my sad looking garlic, and some more tomatoes along there. Onions, onions are doing really nicely. Collards there. More potatoes along here. And then my one area that just for some reason I just cannot seem to figure out why none of these potatoes came up. I'm gonna have to do some digging and maybe plant some more. I don't know. Now let me show you this a couple other areas over here. But you can get a pretty good overview of everything that's happening up in here, and it's really looking pretty well. Then I got my shade garden here. It's got some lettuce, Merlot lettuce in the back, some cabbage in the front, another row of black-seeded Simpson there, which is just about getting big enough to start to harvest. And then over here you can see my tomato bed, which is my hugelkultur bed. It's got tomatoes in this side, some beans growing up, and then back behind I got some sunflowers along the back row there. And then just a quick shot of Mama's beautiful, beautiful butterfly garden, which is really just now starting to come into its own. It's starting to really get bigger and better. It's going to take a little bit, but it's getting there. It's really looking nice. So I did kind of wander around and show off a little bit, you know, all the stuff I've got going on. But I really want you to understand, I really need for people to get the idea that you don't have to have fertilizer, all right? And I know that people say, well, you know, you need to do this and you need to do that, and you know, and a lot of times they just tell you, you know, this is the way it works, and you're kind of expected to believe. Well, I'm showing you. I'm going to show you, I mean, I have shown you that it works. All right, I've not used any fertilizer whatsoever in this garden, and it's growing, and it's producing. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, and right now my pudding's looking pretty sweet. All right, so either way, it's up to you. Do what you want. You know, though, you know, I will say the thing about fertilizer is that typically fertilizer tends to run off into our streams and our lakes and our oceans, and that's causing a problem for all of us. And not trying to say what you should do or what you shouldn't do, but I would ask you, as a favor to me, please don't. You know, grow some compost, use your compost, don't use fertilizer, and I think that it'll help with a lot of different things around the world, and it will help to improve the world over a long-term basis. Much like my garden, I think if I was to come in here and use fertilizer, it would be fine for a while, but eventually it would turn into just another farming wasteland, and we don't want that to happen. All right, let's get that life back in the soil and stop using fertilizer, start using compost, and I think that you'll find that it's better for all of us. All right, thanks once again for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and a subscribe, and let me know what you think. But mostly grow something, and grow something naturally as best as possible. All right, y'all come back and see me.